Hello Internet, this is LordMaddog, and today we're going to do a little bit more tutorials on my SOULSLIKE project. So last time we added the sphere and its animations, and I said the next one we would add the sphere to an NPC, and I said, well, let's go ahead and tackle adding an NPC all together. So I have gone ahead and imported Tarlin here, or we're going to call him it's either Tylarn or Tarlin. I'm going to call him Tarlin. Okay. It is what I did is I got it off Sketchfab, and I auto rigged it using AccuRig. AccuRig sadly does not have is not compatible with UE5, so I have to use UE4. See, I tried to use a UE5 one, and it tells me that it is not a compatible skeleton. You see here, not a compatible skeleton. That sucks. If you do know a program that can auto rig a UE5 skeleton, please put it in the comments. I would thank you a million times because I do not have one. And I want to, when I go to create my game, I want all my stuff to be UE5 skeletons. And I hate manual rigging. I just despise it. But anyway, that said, I have imported this, and we have our mesh all set up with everything it needs to be as an NPC character. And so with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the process of turning him into an AI. First off, we want to find, up here in my AI section, we want to find an NPC that will work, that will be pretty much close to or relatively like what we're going to be trying to get. We could go right off the master AI, but like I said, you always want to try to find something that works in the system. I have lots of different examples of things. You want to try to find something that's pretty relatively close to yours. And in our case, the BB skeleton melee is very close to what we're after. So we're going to go ahead and create we're going to duplicate it. We're going to call this Tarlin. Spear. Added the P. Tarlin Spear. Okay. And we're going to just go ahead and drag this back out of this folder. We don't need in the skeleton enemy folder. We're just going to drag it out here, move here. So we're going to come back out here. We're going to go ahead and open up Tarlin. Loading assets. The first thing we're going to do is actually make it into Tarlin. So we're going to come over to our mess. Here we are. Not Tarline is the one that doesn't is the one that doesn't have the proper skeleton. This one here. Now that's set, we also got to select our BBP. Since this is using a UE4, we can actually use our old man BBP. So that's to be totally fine. Old man. The only thing the old man BBP does not have that most NPCs has is to look at character. So we'll go ahead and look a little bit at our animation class, but we ain't going to go very deep of it because that is a very long process, and it's probably something we'll cover at a later date. So as with the BBP, this is all your animations of how everything works. So you start off with your base, unarmed, your basic walking around. Animations. Then you come down here into each one of your weapons animations, and then after each one of your weapons animations, we get your blocking and not blocking, and your strafing animations. Then we have our crouching animations, and then we have our AO. I'm not sure what they call it. AO. Basically, it's when you turn your mouse, your character looks that way. So your entire body kind of goes with the direction your mouse is going. Then we have our wall run, and we have these are basically different types of skills, gliding, flying, and different things. And this is our slots. So upper body slot, lower body slot, default slot, and then these are our rigs. We're not going to go over them. They're very complicated and it's not worth getting into right now. And then we have our two-handed IK. The two-handed IK system I have set up is not quite working the way I'd really like it. I'm not really sure how to do two-handed IK, and we don't have to do that for you to find our animations anyway. Okay, that said, then we get our get up from ragdoll, and that's pretty much all of the system. The only thing that's different with this one and most of the NPCs is I don't have with this is, let's go ahead and open up. Oh, we'll have to come back to Tarlin here and open up a NPC skeleton mesh. Open this up. Use this. most of my NPCs have a look at character, but since we're actually using the character as an old man, it won't have that. I would have to make another one, and I'd have to set up the little look at things. Now, when you are going to go ahead and make, let's say you have an NPC that does not have a UE5 or a UE4 skeleton, what you will need to do is right click on this and retarget your animations, and you want to then pick your skeleton and do all the retargeting things. There are tons of tutorials online about retargeting, and they've changed it a decent amount nowadays. But good luck with that. It's a decent long process, but it's not something I'm going to cover in this tutorial. Now that we have this character basically set up, we're going to go over some of its actual settings in here, where we don't need to mess with our actor tick. This montages. Now here, this is what we do need to mess with if we want to have all of his montages character based. So that means that when you have, regardless of the weapon you're using, these are the animations you will use. So like if I want to have him enter combat, this is basically all set up for a one-handed weapon. And it will all be based, all this stuff, these default settings are all kind of one-handed weapons. And you will need to set up a few of these things like ranged attacks, medium attacks, because these are not actually set inside of the weapon based. So you need to set some of these up. These ones here, like two-handed attack, heavy two-handed attacks. But a lot of these I'm just going to basically leave the same, because I'm going to actually use the weapon-based animations. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Right here, this is our perform attack animation. This is for our base enemy. This handles how the enemy attacks. This is your base weapon animation, and it'll use weapon base. So any weapon you give it, it'll use the base attack animations. This does not work for guns or ranged weapons. You will have to use a specific one of these down here. Let's see. I think it's T perform range or attack. It's in here. Yes. T wonder range. It's in here. You have to look it up. You have to actually go to one of the circle at target range. No. You'd have to open up one of the, let's go open this location. I have different animation set, BTD trees set up here. So enemy arrow. Okay. So ranged, each one has their own BTT. I just got to remember exactly how that one works. D, perform attack, light attack. Oh, maybe it's just before called attack. Well, you have to look exactly how it's have the ranged enemies hooked up. Yeah. All right. So with that said, the only ones we'd probably really want to kind of change is our medium range attack or range attack montage. Now this range attack montage, this one has a gas set into it. So basically it spawns a stone that you throw. See it's right here, GA start, and we're selecting, it's spawning the rock throw. So for its range attack. Now that done with anime montages, the next thing we need to look at is manually change variables. This is the default behavior tree. The one we were just looking at, a behavior tree. This is our default behavior tree. You can select. This is the one that you're going to have at start at the moment the NPC is spawned. If you do not use the spawner, this will always be that way. We will go over the spawner later though, and it can change this on the spawner. Okay, this tells whether or not this NPC will drop XP. You won't most likely want that selected for most of your NPCs. This is your default NPC name. This can be changed at the spawner. We'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about the spawner later. This here does need to be changed though. This is what will display the mesh that's being displayed when you have this using the spawner. So we want to change this to Tarlin, right there, as we want to know what the character looks like when we're spawning. So every single NPC I have based down in the system is using the spawner. As you can see, this is basically what each one has. So I have it so you can see what they look like. The spawner has the settings, so outliner details here. And this is spawner. This is, like I said, we'll go over the spawner later. Okay, so with that, we don't need to mess with mesh. We got it. Most of these things here we're going to just close off because they're not stuff we don't actually need to mess with. There are a few more variables that we can change down here. Okay, so this is the one that we do need to change. Gameplay tags. This is denotes what enemies will attack and will not attack. Right now, there's only character NPC and character player. An NPC will always attack an NPC character if you have the BT set up. The BT, you can have different factions easy enough by just changing, like having character.npc. I don't know, whatever faction name you want to have. I should be able to think of one real easy, the sword faction or the mage faction. And then you can choose whether or not they'll attack each other in your BT. And like I said, we're not going to go over the BT. It's just, you'll be able to change when it gets the target. It'll acquire the target, and you can choose when it gets acquiring its target. See the target enemy, whether or not it'll, because this is based on the tags. So you can set that up, or we might go over the whole BT thing eventually, because you might want to know how to change it. But basically, behavior tree is a complete thing onto its own. Now, we don't need to mess with collision. We don't need to mess with combat. We don't need with lighting. Here we are. Manual death, these starts. Okay, so when your character dies, this is the particles, like the green, blue particles. I'll show you real quick what I mean by that. I will... Let's go ahead and bring this NPC. This is the one we're going to end up messing with to put Tarlin into here. But first off, all right, I don't have to kill him manually. I just kill him by activating the, what's it called? See? Whoops. When we hit that, that blue cloud. Now, each skeleton, not each skeleton, each of your what are the meshes? Each one of your meshes will be affected differently by the particle size. I don't know why that is, but you're going to want to change the particle size. You want to make it so it kind of looks cool, but it's not over bloated or it's too small. So this chooses whether or not the NPC can ragdoll. To ragdoll, you have to NPC has to have set up a physics on its mesh. So my physics for this Tarlin's mesh is using it's not using Tarlin physics, it's using the Mani 4 UE4 physics, so it totally can have ragdoll. But you have to, if you bring in an NPC, you have to set up your own physics asset. And that is a thing on itself, and you have to look up a tutorial how to do that. So if you don't want to set up your own physical asset, then you need to make sure you do not have can ragdoll selected, because you will have a mess if you do not have a physics set up. Okay. So the next thing we're going to look, this is our loot table. This is what the NPC can drop. So this is Tarlin. We're going to go ahead and make this a BP spear. Oh, wait, no, we're after Kopi spear. Kopi spear has a 1% chance of dropping it, and XP drop magnet. I'm going to remove that. We don't need that. So basically, the only thing it has a chance of dropping, we're going to also add one more. We're going to add gold. So BP gold, and we're going to give that a 50% chance. Gold is, when it's dropped, is dropped according to the level. So whatever the NPC level is, set through the spawner, or you have set manually here, will be it. And now XP loot drops per account. This is also dropped according to the level. So each XP on level 1 is worth 1 XP. So this NPC, a level 1 NPC, will give us all 10 XP, but a level 2 will give us 20 and 30, 40. But I changed this to 100. That means this NPC is going to give me 100 XP at level 1. And so on and so forth. You don't want to scratch this up too high. I think the highest is probably ever go is 1,000, because if you go to 1,000 at a time, then you will probably get a little bit of lag, because it's particle spawning all at the same place. Okay, now we don't need to mess with this. I think that may have been the last one we need to mess with. Yes, I do think so. That is the last setting we need to mess with for this character on this thing here. Now, starting equipment, we come over here, equipment base. We're going to come down here to starting equipment component. Where's it at? It's be right here. Starting equipment. Yes, this is what the character will default start with. Okay, so the default thing it starts with is a crested blade. We're going to change that into a spear. Kopi spear. Copy sphere. All right. Now we can also change this during the spawner as well. But I think that's actually the last thing we need to do with actually setting up the NPC. Yeah, it is. Okay. So with that done, let's go ahead and change this NPC on over here. Bring him over here. This is the spawner, and I'll show you the spawner blueprint. It's pretty simple setup for a spawner blueprint, but basically this enables you to kill the NPC and respawn it at runtime. So if you just have the NPC placed in there, the NPC will not be killed when the player dies, and it can just run around the place and it will not respawn. So you need a spawner, and you need to set up the spawner so it can be respawned. So right now this spawner has no owner. If I want it to have an owner, I need to come to where my NPC spawners, my respawning locations are. So there's an NPC location. This is another thing you've got to drag into the system. So this is our NPC spawn trigger. This is what owns NPCs that it's attached to. And you just highlight it. Like we want to add another one. I would add another one down here. So let's go ahead and add this one to that. Okay, we'll add this. And then we'll select this. We'll come over here and we'll select our spawner. So this thing now will respawn or trigger when the player walks through it. It will spawn that NPC. So I have that. So all the NPCs are spawned at runtime, which we can dramatically save on FPS. And there's another spawner I have here set here on the corner. I just got to see where it's at. Here it is. There it is. This spawn trigger right. See if I can click it. Yeah, spawn trigger here. And it controls these NPCs in here. And I could even create a new NPC spawner. I could just, like if I wanted to, yeah, actually, let's do that. Let's go ahead and remove him. Delete him. And we're just going to we're going to copy you. And we're actually going to delete all of these. We don't need any of these. And we're only going to have one. And we're going to have this one. There we are. So now we have this, and we're going to take this over here to this door. And we're going to shrink it down a good bit. We don't need it that big. There we are. There we are. So now this will spawn that character. Now let's go ahead and go over the spawner itself. So this is your NPC spawner. You just drag and drop it into the world any place, or copy another one and move it around. Now the class is which one you're going to be spawning. So we're going to do BP Tarlin, the one we just set up, Tarlin Spear. Okay, now this is the starting equipment. We'll change the starting equipment. So we don't really want to change our starting equipment. Maybe we do. We can change our starting equipment. I already have it set up for a spear, but we can just, I do like the dev armor, which gives it a little bit more HP. Now this class, class chooses what type of NPC it has, and we're going to go over each one that they do. So none will just do a kind of a generic randomly placed all XP levels. A tank will try to, will emphasize on HP and defense when leveling. And fighter will physical damage. Knight is physical damage and defense and HP. Berserker is, I think, complete and total attack power. Mage is intelligence. Paladin is a split between physical and magical, so intelligence and strength. Cleric is, I think, mostly goes pure for wisdom, and you can set more of these up later if you want yourself. Scout for mostly agility, and Jack of all trades is also it kind of levels all your stats equally. So, and here's your desired level. This, when the NPC spawns, it will automatically use all XP. It all have the system set up so it calculates how much XP to get to the desired level. It gives that NPC that much XP, and then it levels the NPC according to the class you choose. This is your NPC name. We're going to call him Tarlin. This was already set. If you can set it in the Spearmaster. Okay, you're like I said, you can change most of the stuff inside the NPC or through the spawner. So the loot table, we're not going to change the loot table. We've already changed it, changed name. We're going to go ahead and, like I just changed his name. We're going to go ahead and change the class because his default class was not set, which I forgot to talk about. His default class is when you come over here or stat component, we can change his default stat. I've just got to figure it over here. Well, I'm not going to go through all that. It's in here somewhere. You can change some of his default stuff. Yes, his default class is Berserker. There it is. And his default desired level is 10. So stat level up cost multiplier. Okay, yeah. This you don't really want to mess with that very much either, unless you want to maybe when you instead of it being this is the default level modifier. If you turn it to a little bit level, he'll be a lot higher than level 10. If you turn it higher, then it'll be a lot higher than other NPC. Yeah, be a lot stronger than other level 10s. But that's basically the only thing you want to change in here is it, and you don't even need to change it in here because you want to use the spawner anyway. So change equipment. We've already have that selected. We are changing our equipment. Change the BHT. So this is we already have the BHT we want to use, but you can change it at runtime right here. Also in the BHT, you can use the BHT to change it into a different BHT behavior tree as well. Change loot table. This will allows us to actually change the loot that he drops. Oh, also did not talk about unique loot. Did I talk about unique loot? Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Just in case I didn't. Unique loot, it means that this NPC will only drop that item once, and it will only drop it once for a play every time the map loads. So let's say you have like some type of herb that you only want this NPC to drop once. Then here, you want to do that for the unique loot. You don't want it to be dropped multiple times during the run. Okay, change loot table, behavioral tree, patrol points. We can add a patrol point, and we can put patrol points into the world here. So I would have to select a patrol point and put it into the world. These are different types of patrol points, and I would want to select them inside the world. It's actually showing all the patrol points in the world right now. They're not different types. So my bad. So like you'll have to open one. Nope, I can't. I'm not going to. There's patrol points. There's basically patrol points that you can put them in the world, but you don't need to do that. We're not going to have any patrol points. We'll talk about different type of patrols later here in a few seconds. Spawn at start. This means that regardless of whether or not the player has triggered this their spawner and whether or not it will spawn, we want it to go ahead and spawn at start anyway. Should check max spawnable. This means if you have if you have the this spawner set up, there's a different type of spawner than this default spawner. It'll constantly spawn over and over here. This is a different type of spawner. Here we are. Okay, this will constantly spawn NPCs, and it'll check whether or not it's max spawnable. So this max spawnable is set to 10. So that's what has to do with that. Going down each one of these stats. Spawn owner. Right now, its spawn owner should be. Okay, yeah, it'll set it at runtime. It'll set itself. The spawn owner right here, you can manually set it spawn loaner in this using this little setup here. Like it's both interchangeable both ways. So if I wanted to get this spawn trigger, I could click that too, manually set it. But you want most of the time you want to set the spawner from the spawn trigger itself, even though they're a little bit hard to select. There we go. So now we're talking about should patrol and patrol types. There are 3 different types of patrol. Do I have it set here? Yes. 0 is location based, must be placed points, like we were talking about patrol points. 1 is random. 3 is both in sequence. So if you have a patrol point, then you want it to wander, then it'll wander around that patrol point, and then it'll get another patrol point, wander around that patrol point, and whatnot, just like that. Okay, so this means whether or not the character is actually right in front of it, or it can see the character. If this is hit select should attack player, this is basically used for the bullet heaven system. It'll automatically find the character player and attack the player. This right here, when it spawns a portal effect. It's a neat little effect. This is basically used for the bullet heaven system as well. Visible at start. This means that whether or not the player can see it before it actually really starts moving or activate. So this is okay to be visible at start, but we do not want our bullet heaven NPCs to be visible at start. We want them to come through the portal. And two-handed means whether or not it uses if it'll automatically start using its weapon two-handedly. So in this case, do we want him to use a one-handed sphere or two-handed sphere? We'll go ahead and start with just the one-handed sphere. And I think that's absolutely everything. So we'll go ahead and spawn. Since he spawns at start, we'll hit play. He will run over and attack us with our spear. Because I already have it set up to use a weapon-based attack. So there we go. There we are. And he's working pretty good on us. We can even, like I said, we can then change his stats to use the two-handed where's that? Two-handed. So now he'll attack us two-handedly. And I do believe that's pretty much almost everything there is to do with NPCs. It's a really easy setup. It's just a little time consuming. And each NPC you're going to want to set up. Now, if you're going to have an NPC that's, he might need to be actually come a little bit closer in his settings. His range there. He was a little bit out of range on us. Yeah, so how I would change that little problem here, it would be BT base enemy. In a based enemy, this is acceptable range, 150 feet, 150 radius is acceptable range. You want to change this probably down to, for him, he would down to 100, so he wouldn't have that problem happening anymore. That was a little pretty funky, him trying to attack me from range there. There we are. There's a little bit, I don't know what that little bit gliding around. I guess he wasn't spawned in fully because you're usually supposed to. You might need to look at why he was gliding around there. But anyway, that's pretty much all there is for AI. The only other thing that for noting for AI is you need to have down a navigation. Where's that? I'll just have to type it in outliner. Nav. Here, nav mesh, nav bounds, nav radius, not. So this is, I have basically one set for the entire area. So like this is this area here has a nav mesh. You hit P, you can see your, I think it's P, right? Is it P for nav mesh? Yes, it is P for nav mesh. There it is. See, and you can see where the nav mesh is at. So you need to have a nav mesh for any of the NPCs to be able to actually find the character and move around and hit the character. So this, as you can see, it's all been nav meshed. And that is how you add an NPC to the system. It's really easy. Just a few settings to set. I hope you enjoy. LordMaddog signing off.